This is Inside Mside, your favorite podcast for all things Morningside. Hear stories from students, alumni, faculty, and more about what makes the Morningside experience so special.
Hello. Welcome back to Inside Mside. I'm one of your hosts, Alisanne, and today I'm here with Stacie Hayes and Koithan. Tell me who you guys are, your positions, and we're going to talk about peer mentors today, but what your other jobs are outside of that. I'll let you go first.
Absolutely. So my name is Stacie Hayes. I am the Vice President of University Engagement here at Morningside University, which includes alumni engagement, career services, retention, marketing and communications, and sports information. And I have been at Morningside for over 20 years.
So, Katie?
I'm Katie Koithan. I am the Student Experience and Retention Coordinator, which I like to joke is a bunch of fancy words for saying I work with our first-year students and offer a variety of support services for them, one of which being the Peer Mentor Program. But also, like, my main role is I coordinate our program for exploring students that we call the Exp.
Wonderful. And so today we're going to be talking about peer mentors and how that program started. I know, Stacie, you were a big part of that, and Katie, you've kind of taken over advising that group of students. Can you kind of tell me where the idea came from and kind of how the starting beginnings of it went?
Yeah, definitely. So we had talked about having peer mentors a variety of times throughout my time here. There had been task forces, and it had been brought up quite a bit, and everybody really liked the idea, but nobody could really figure out logistically how it would work or how the infrastructure would be. And so about 4 years ago, we got an opportunity through an organization called AmeriCorps Seed Coalition to offer a grant where we would provide peer mentor services to certain classifications of students. So at that point in time, it seemed like it would be a great way to sort of figure out how we would structure that and how we would move forward. Since that time, we've sort of outgrown the grant. So the grant was only allowing us to provide service to students that met certain criteria. And we felt like this program was strong enough and valuable enough for us to offer this to all students. So since that time, we're no longer working with that grant program. But once we got that first year under our belt, it just gave us a lot of information about how to move forward and how to really ensure that it was going to be a strong program.
And what year did that start?
So I think it was 2022.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And the cool part about it, too, is that it was piloted with our XPath program. So like Stacie said, it's kind of like evolved throughout the years where it was piloted with that group that they were really focusing on career exploration. And then we opened it up to just more aspects of the college journey. So we added in some social events, not as much of the career exploration. And we've had a lot of fun with it and have been very successful with it.
Yeah. Can you tell me about some of the benefits of what a peer mentor program provides? So if there is another college listening, what are the benefits to having a program like this?
I think what we found the biggest benefit is it allows the students to have someone who looks like them or sounds like them to bounce ideas off of. So as Katie and I talk about, we don't feel like we're scary people, but sometimes we're maybe giving off an intimidation vibe, as I think a lot of our college faculty and staff do, not willingly, certainly, but there's just that perception of adults. And so having a student that you can run things by first sometimes feels a little bit safer. Our peer mentor program primarily is through electronic communication, either email or text. And so I think for some students that also provides another layer of I feel okay asking this because I don't have to go to somebody in person and ask that question.
Yep.
So I think for me, that's been probably the most valuable part of it.
Absolutely. And I always say it's like the behind the scenes problem solvers where the students want to know that they're being heard and that they're being taken seriously. And sometimes it's the unofficial way to start the problem solving. So we've seen our peer mentors handle issues as minuscule as I lost my ID. Where do I go? I have to pay my parking ticket and I don't know what office I need to go to. But we have also seen the students reaching out about hey, my roommate and I are not getting along. I don't know what the next step is, but it's really starting to affect me. And it allows us to sometimes it's something that Stacie and I have to take over and do some stuff behind the scenes. But then the student is able to like reiterate to their mentee about like, hey, like we are taking care of this, like don't worry. So it's, sometimes those things will happen at 10 o'clock at night, but again, they're in that panic mode. We're taking care of it behind the scenes, and it helps them rest a little bit easier.
Well, and especially the flexibility of it. Like you said, some of these happen at like midnight, and you guys aren't in your office taking care of it. So definitely, I can totally see where the flexibility aspect and the, this sounds like a dumb question. Maybe I'll ask someone who is also relating to it. So I guess my next question would be, when you started this, how many peer mentors did you have?
So we originally started, as Katie said, only with our expat students, which is our students who are undecided. And we had six. And then each year we have incrementally jacked it up a little bit. So I think that second year we went to 10, and we had added a couple other characteristics. And then after that second full year, we really just sat down and said, why aren't we offering this to all students? We kind of found out that with our students, it was a negative thing kind of either way. So some of our students would be like, oh, I have a peer mentor, but my friend doesn't. Why do I have one and they don't? Or opposite, why can't I have a peer mentor? And so we thought this is something that really is scalable, and we can do it for all students. And that's something that we were really excited to do. And we just completed our first year of that. So
yeah. And then because kind of one of the tie-ins is like, it's not all the time, but a lot of times the Woo Crew and the peer mentors, they do both, but that's not the case for all of them, right?
Correct. And what we found is like each year that like we've scaled it up, or like where we had a group where the Woo Crew was the peer mentor, that group, they just had a very different vibe. Like they got along with each other really well. They were a lot more at ease with the campus. They were a lot more at ease with their peer mentor. The example I always give is like, the peer mentor at the time, her name was Nellie, and her group started a game of Where's Nellie, where if they would see her walking around campus, they would take a picture of her and put it in their group chat.
That's funny.
And so and she just did a really good job of managing both of those roles. And we found that again last year, that the Woo Crew members who were peer mentors, they just were able to connect with the students sooner. So it just seemed a lot more seamless. So we have tried to replicate that as much as possible for this year, to have as many of the Woo Crew also be peer mentor that we can.
Right.
And so far it's been really fun.
With that transition of, well, I have my Woo, and then I have my peer mentor. It does probably help.
Yeah,
it's just both of them.
I'm your person all year. Like there's none of that disjointedness. It's just I'm your person.
Yeah. So then can you kind of tell me when so say there's a student listening and they want to be a peer mentor, what are the characteristics that you guys look for when you're hiring? What are some of you take people from all majors, all different types of like their affinity groups, whether it's music or athletics. Can you guys tell me like what overall you look for in a peer mentor?
So I think primarily we are looking for students who want to connect with other students. And that doesn't mean that they have to be extroverted, because they don't. They just have to be willing to reach out to students and provide information that we have provided for them. I think some of the things that we found out from last year is we had a couple peer mentors who were a little nervous about meeting with their mentees in person. They were just kind of anxious about it. And then after they did it, they were like, oh my God, that was so great. I had the best time doing that.
Right.
So we always say you don't have to be the most extroverted person on the planet, or somebody who's just going to go up and talk to a lot of people, without a lot of preparation. But you do need to be somebody who's willing to reach out to your group of students.
Yeah,
for sure.
And we do like to have a wide variety of disciplines. So like we're not going to hire all one major. We like to have an in all of the different academic departments. Our hope is to have as much athletic representation as possible. Same with music, theater. We want to have students that are involved in all of the different aspects, because then we kind of use them as the liaison for that specific area. So yeah, we kind of look across the board. It's nice having like one or two international students on the peer mentor role as well, because they have a certain set of rules and requirements that they have to follow, and having a mentor that has been through that as kind of like the liaison has been really nice. So yeah.
Peer mentors, they're main part of their role is to communicate with students. They also hold office hours and they do events on campus. Yes? Can you tell me about more of those?
Yeah. So our peer mentors, because it is a paid position on campus, so there is like a schedule that they hold. We ask them to do a couple office hours every week. So generally like 2 hours, very similar to how college professors will have office hours, where you tell your students, this is the time that I'm available in this specific location. Drop in and see me. Excuse me. We're not above like, hey, I have a free coffee card. Come by, see me, stuff like that, to kind of, especially the first couple weeks, get them used to seeing their peer mentor in that light. So that is one aspect of it. And then we do ask them to at least organize one event for their specific group of mentees. And so then that way, if we see if there's any kind of gap in events, or we're just wanting to have an extra thing available, we have everything ready to go. The peer mentor goes with what's best for their students and them, like for their schedule. And it's just a way for them to connect in a different social way, instead of saying like, hey, we're doing a study night, or we're doing, this workshop on campus. It's let's just get together. And like, I think one of them this year wants to go walk their students up to the snow cone place.
Oh, yeah.
By Subway. Like, absolutely.
That sounds great. Yeah. Just for them to kind of help with making more friends. Because that's one of the things that I think we've talked about. It gets sometimes not always the top of the priority, because you want them to do well in school and academics. But if they're not connecting socially, that's going to hurt your retention numbers. So I know peer mentors are a big part of, like, we've seen a really good retention numbers this past year, and I'm sure that is partially due to having a really strong peer mentor program, which is really great. Can you guys tell me some of the success stories of the past year or so, or 2 years with the peer mentors that you're just really proud of?
I can think specifically of one instance where we had a student who was having some pretty significant roommate issues, and at first was just kind of like, it's okay, I'm just going to deal with it. And then over Labor Day weekend, she had messaged her peer mentor and was like, I've kind of had it. I think I'm going to move home. She was a local student. I'm just going to move home. And the student had emailed me, I think it was like the Saturday of Labor Day weekend. Yeah. And that kind of immediately put us into action, into getting a hold of Residence Life and saying, what are the options that are available for this student? It's not always going to be something where a student can immediately move like that. But here there were some specific circumstances where it warranted that she was able to do that. So before, I think by Labor Day on that Monday, she was able to move into a different residence hall. And that student was going to leave. I mean, she had said, I'm going to move home and then I'm going to transfer. And after that experience, the student is still here. She's doing well. So, and I think we both probably have at least, 24 examples of where the peer mentor was able to provide just a very simple answer to something that felt very big to the student. And I think we pride ourselves on being able to take these problems, which seem so huge, and break them down really small and say, this is how we can get past this.
Absolutely. Katie? I remember specifically, it was 2 years ago, we had like a really big snowstorm, and like grounds, everyone, they were working on overtime, clearing snow. Some heaters weren't keeping up with it. And I did have one of the peer mentors reach out to me like, hey, the student just said like, it's really cold in their room. The heater's not putting out heat. What do we do? Okay. So like, I know it's like, okay, it's after hours. Tell them they have to call the on-call number, but I'm also going to text the guy, make sure that like they know that it's going on, so that the student knows what the official process is, because that's the other piece of it, is helping them learn the policies that they don't really know about yet, or saying like, okay, we can fix it, but we also need like the official documentation going forward. And so again, like the student felt heard. That's like, yeah, it's 8 p.m. on a Thursday night, and I want to make sure that this is getting taken care of. So it's just like little things like that that stick out to me.
And I think following up with that, I think the most important thing that we want our students to know is that we are listening to what they say. So we can't always provide the answer that they want, but we are always going to listen to what they say, and we're going to do our best to be able to help them understand.
Well, this has been a great conversation, you guys. Do you have anything else that you want to share about peer mentors or about our office even?
I think the only thing that I would share is I think we've worked very hard in the last couple of years to make the Crone Center, which is where our office is located and our peer mentors are located, a very student-centric space. And just so that people understand that we love to have students in here. We always have some snacks available. Betty, our animal ambassador, lives here. There's always students in here. So I would just really encourage anyone who is going to Morningside or going to be here in the fall semester, or people who know students who are there who are struggling, get them to the Crone Center. We will do our best to help get them connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Yeah.
I think that is great advice. Thank you guys for sitting down with me. I think you guys have really you guys have a success story of what like a really good peer mentor program looks like that I think a lot of other colleges should model, because it's obviously helping retention and student happiness and satisfaction with their higher education. So I would just say that you guys run a great program, and thanks for coming on today to Inside Mside.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, listeners, for listening to this episode of Inside Mside, and we'll see you next week.